if there's any of them left, G2 fans, come here as we roll back with another episode it was mid-tournament break, but now we actually have Fissure starting. G2 aren't there, of course. A lot of teams ended up skipping out, but we decided to bring STYKO on with that little Slovakian connection with MATYS, one of their new additions. You decided to put out a video recently with going over train with MATYS, and pretty sure you did it before the signing, but you still hit the G2 in the title there. So, trying to grab some of those early views as you can, right?
Yeah, I mean, I heard the rumors that he might be signing somewhere. I didn't know where, and the video was done when he was still, at the beginning of player break, he was still Fnatic MATYS. And when it got released, I told my editor, let's throw a G2 jersey on him, just for the lulz. And that was like a perfect timing where he announced farewell from Fnatic and everything is kind of falling into place.
But it's still not official. I mean, it might be by the time we release it, but it's like he's in the Cologne roster sheet and we've published that. But it's like G2 social media is just either cooking up the best announcement we've ever seen or they're all on holiday, basically.
Isn't it crazy that Sunpayus and SO aren't announced as well?
Yeah, none of them.
Which we've known like since the major that Heroic is kind of...
Yeah, it's a secret.
Just radio
Please, don't say anything.
All right.
It's a secret.
It wouldn't be better if no roster views got leaked. No, this is all your fault. It's people like you ruining it for everyone else.
I rarely do roster reports anymore, so you know what? You can put the blame score on Striker. Actually, Striker and Louise. I'm not a leaker.
So in reality,
we're
going to talk about 3 players in this episode. Really,
that's
G2
right.
Fans is just a 3-man roster right now.
Exactly, but
just assumptions.
Except for the fact that we know Snax is out, we know Sunpayus is coming in, we know Saw is going to be coaching, and obviously we have MATYS. And Harry, you've prepared a regular meme slide here.
I think regular is the word, for sure. But
yeah, I mean, all of them are regular at this point, except you like to mix it up. Some of them have been low effort ones, some of them have been a little more elaborate. What is this one?
I don't think any of them have taken me more than about 2 minutes. And this is the latest masterpiece, I'd say. So this is, for people unaware, this is the Juicy CEO, Stilgar. He had a tough job taking over from Carlos, but the one thing he could point to is, well, I've got NiKo and Manassi. And after about a year and a half, he doesn't anymore. So that's a masterclass, first of all. Second of all, I think it kind of, when we saw him in interviews and everything, and I don't want to be too harsh, because I actually kind of like a lot of the stuff he says. In all honesty, I think G2 get a lot of stick for losing NiKo and Manassi, but in the circumstances they were in, I think kind of inevitable. I don't know if you guys disagree on the NiKo and Manassi ones, but I just think NiKo was always going Falcons. Manassi was always going to follow him once NiKo did. I don't know if it's as much of a management fuck up as it's kind of been construed as, but community sentiment's there, so we're going to have some fun with it anyway. So what we've done is we've got Carlos on the wall, just chucking darts at it because his legacy's gone, really. Carlos, what did he want? He wanted Manassi. He wanted Baby Goat. He wanted G2 to be all the superstars, the high branding, the fun. And this guy's just come in and gone, you know what? No, it's Ewing theory time. We're selling superstars. The money's going in my pocket and my mate's pockets. And we're just going to have like Saw doing Moneyball with the biggest brand, with one of the biggest brands in esports. So that's kind of where I wanted to open the show, with kind of the new CEO, the new philosophy. And I think this new team is kind of more of a Stilgar team than a Carlos team when you look at it, because it's young players, it's exciting players, but it's not kind of the massive brand that we've come to be used to with G2. And I think I like that more, and it's just whether their fans will have the same reaction. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think you're right that they were inevitably going to lose NiKo and Manassi. After NiKo was getting that offer, I don't think that he was ever going to turn that kind of offer down, especially with the way the Falcons actually have the money to spend to get other players, and G2 haven't really been shelling out much of the cash since the Manassi move. But, as I said at the start of the show, I don't know how many G2 fans are left at this point. I think it's been a pretty rough road for a team that used to be one of the biggest organizations in terms of fan following. They've also always had a very, I'd say, polarized fan base. If they're not doing well, they will get a lot of hate. And you know what? They've not been doing well for quite a while. Now, I do think that removing Snax is the right choice. I think it's been a very long time overdue because it just was not working. You could tell the way the team's been playing since losing Hooksy, and yeah, they didn't have the right pieces for a little bit as well after NiKo left, but at the same time, it's just nothing was working in terms of the way that team was trying to click together, and I think they needed an overall structure change. And I think Hunter taking the wheel fully, since he was already calling a lot of CT sides anyway, is probably what they need to free up some of the players and also just maybe make a little bit of this work compared to how it's been for the last probably 6 months, even a year, I would say.
And luckily, we've got someone on who knows how easy in-game leading is. So, what do you think? What do you think, STYKO? How much fun is Hunter about to have in the next 6 months or so?
If I'm being honest, I think I tweeted this actually out that I think it makes perfect sense for a Hunter to pick up IGL duties. I think it kind of led naturally in his throughout his career into this moment. And I obviously don't know the guy. I only know him in a kind of like positive manner, like always kind of joking around and always greeting me, always being super nice, right? But obviously that's not like an IGL quality that is needed to have. However, what I'm basing this on is that I watch pretty much every single voice comms video that goes out of any team, whether it would be even Team Spirit, because I understand a little bit Russian, and then obviously FaZe, Falcons, actually Falcons I think didn't make it, like Vitality, MATYS are doing them as well, and G2 obviously. And in this, I always notice like little habits that these players have, and Hunter has been really, he's been impressing me a lot during these voice comms, because one thing is that no matter the scoreline, I feel like it's the same guy talking. It's not like he doesn't really care about the scoreline of the match or scoreline of his own. He's always like kind of being positive and being like very like resourceful, I would say. And that is a great IGL quality because he's never going to like give up on the round because he's lacking the idea. He's always having these ideas in mind, and now he's going to be enabled to call them more often, because probably there's going to be a lot of role shifts to put him into like a lot of pack positions in the center of the map kind of thing. And that is, to me, a great spotlight for Hunter to be in, because he can create like a little deadly duos with either MATYS or sometimes malbs or even Sunpayus for that matter. And I think he's going to shine in it. So IGL duties are hard, but I think Hunter has a good like predisposition to have those qualities like really unlocked in this team.
Mm-hmm. I think you can tell like the out of service stuff is kind of already there for Hunter. Like you kind of like if you see them walking around or something, he kind of has the kind of I won't use aura. I'll say gravitas. He has the gravitas of kind of like some sort of captain already, right? Like it's like if it was a sports team, he'd be the captain. Maybe someone else would be the coach, but he'd be the captain, right? It's that kind of energy and the experience he's going to be able to bring to this team. Like he's kind of only G2 legacy left, really. So I think it's important for him to stay, first of all. And I agree with you guys. I mean, Kassad was calling for it in like 2023 when it was peak Hooksy hate, right? It's like Hunter can IGL, Hunter can IGL. So I'm kind of excited to see what it'll actually be like in practice now.
And I'm looking at your regular round swing window here, Harry, and it's a little bit different than normal. Usually you have a lot more people with a negative round swing on an average team. And so G2 brought together a couple of pieces that, clearly had more impact on their team. So just, tell me about this round swing chart compared to others. What did you think while putting it together?
Well, I think the main thing is obviously there's no like classic IGL here to kind of bring the average down, but I think it's also, in a way it kind of illustrates the opposite point, which is that malbs has had a tough year. He's only 0.1% positive, which is like, he's basically just dying too much. Like it is a bit harsh to aggressive players like malbs, because if you die in advantage situations and things, like this stat is a bit harsh to you. But what you would say is Heavy God is one of the massive overperformers in round swing, like compared to like when people are going to be looking for 3.0 v 2.1 when it does come out, which is hopefully soon. We'll see. Oh, the whole of Denmark's on holiday. It's coming. We
Every episode, it's coming.
Soon. But Heavy God's going to be one of those guys that jumps because he's just unbelievable at overperforming situations, whether it's man v man, whether it's his bomb site. I think he's just one of the best players. And he's one of the players you really want to keep for G2. It's kind of that situation. And then MATYS, kind of weaker opposition, but putting up similar numbers. That's really exciting to have. Sunpayus, we know his quality. We know he's good. So I think the question will be, how much will Hunter go down and how much can malbs go up for this new team? And it's kind of about the roles a little bit for me, because I think I want to see Hunter be kind of, like STYKO was saying, like middle of the map, CT side and T side. I kind of want him to be more like an Apex in-game leader than an anchor in-game leader. Because we know the reason he was calling on CT side was because Snax was jump spotting somewhere. You have to have Hunter kind of taking the reins from rotate spots. And I think this is the kind of interesting question is, do you kind of put MATYS in anchor roles and have Hunter being able to call as much, which is what I would probably do, just because I know MATYS can be flexible. I think people might say malbs. Or do you make Hunter jump spot and then you're kind of left with what malbs, MATYS, and Pius trying to be like site callers, and it's just not. In my head, that just works worse. So what do you kind of think of this puzzle, STYKO? What would you kind of do on CT side? Would you keep Hunter rotating?
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about your well, for your ancient graphic, I fully agree, but that is most focused on T side, so that I looked before we joined actually. And then for the CT side, it makes also sense what you're saying. I was thinking that Hunter will be this B player and MATYS will be more towards middle, as he used to play in Fnatic, and he was actually, a funny thing is when I made this video with MATYS on train, when I come to these pro players, I suggest them, like, I saw your stats, you're great at this spot at this map, do you want to maybe talk about it a little bit? And what I suggested was dust to rotation on CT side, because that's where he had like a nuts statistics, right? And then we agreed to it, and then 20 minutes before the recording started, he was like, can I actually talk about train rather? And I'm like, sure, whatever flows your boat, like, let's do that. But I was actually thinking that he was so good at his spot that I think it makes sense for him to keep it and put Hunter on B side, because if you remember and you watched a lot of G2 Dust 2 previous season with Snax in, it was constantly two guys towards B, and it was still Hunter and Snax, right? Having like a lot of double setups. So in the end, Hunter wouldn't be like heat map wise. I think it would be very similar for Hunter to stay on B, while MATYS is a little bit unlocked towards this lower area and connect with malbs from short, maybe have a Sunpayus in the mid setups. So it makes sense, but at the same time, if I look at the map like Mirage, I don't want Hunter to be jump spotting BFs on CT side. That's something where I think IGL, like Hunter, could actually use a little bit more action, and I would probably put Heavy God there. But, it's a trade-off where Saw, new coach of G2, has to somehow solve this puzzle. And I think it's already been solved before he signed these players. So it just remains to be seen in Cologne how they deal with it. But it makes both sense. Like, both of these options make sense on the paper in some scenarios. Whether they want to lean in Hunter being more supportive, great. If he wants to be more like I would say Kixan, where he's able to fill more aggressive roles. Let's say my aggressive player doesn't have a good game, I'm going to be aggressive instead, and the Kixan is capable of these things on Falcons, then he's going to fill that. And if Hunter is capable, well, I'm up for it, because that adds to his versatility and flexibility.
And I think puzzle's the right word, because it's not like a bad situation. Like, the kind of balance of rifles, I'd say, is pretty good. It's more just you've got multiple routes that kind of make sense. Even Dust 2, like, maybe you just want Heavy God be anchoring, because then it's just not a weakness anymore, and you can leave him on his own and have MATYS playing in mid, and Hunter does the classic IGL on long thing. Like, that's one of the other options. So there's like 3 different options, and you can kind of see pros and cons for all of them. And it was quite hard to kind of, because I normally try and predict all their spots, and for this team it was difficult, because it's like MATYS. So I was checking his skybox as well, and basically Fnatic must do role changes all the time, or Skybox don't know what's going on, because it's like he has 3 different spots on basically every map in the last year. So it's like, I don't know if it's because of roster changes, like stand-ins, whatever, but like he's like, most of these like spots I've got him listed as now, like he's played that for maybe half the time in Fnatic, and then other half he's playing completely different. But overall, like, do you still, because the way you're kind of talking about him playing mid, right? You want him to be active, and I think on a map like Train, like, you wouldn't take him off his A main role. I think I've got Pop Dog here, but it is A main. I struggle with terminology on Train at the moment, But the question more is rotate or anchor kind of generally. Would he be okay doing a mix so that Hunter can kind of do a mix and match, do you think?
I think he would be capable of doing that. I want to just give him in this low impact and low action positions. I want to avoid that at all costs. I don't think he grew up in a team or in a role where this was like kind of taught to him. Like he was never a part of a team where he needed to do that. I really despise where players are going up a notch when it comes to a tier and they're thrown into positions they've never played their whole career, right? I mean, okay, like you can be flexible, you can adapt, but let's not keep doing that. What happened in billion other situations before. So I think it could be for train role, for example. I obviously like G2 didn't play it previous season, but I wouldn't take him of this like main position, and then pop dog position is kind of reversible. It's depending on the spawn. So that would be probably, in my eyes, if I would have to pin it on the role, like MATYS and malbs sharing these qualities. And then Hunter would be the rotator. Sunpayus is kind of Ivy where Opera usually is. And then Heavy God being a B anchor. So that could work on the paper. But as I said, Train was not played by G2. So it's kind of hard to, are they going to put the map in the map pool for them? I don't know. But that's how, for me, it would work and make sense.
Well, it's that or Overpass, right? And I checked before the show. Hunter's got 27 maps on Overpass, like ever. So is he going to be wanting to be calling on it forever? I know it's this kind of like a lot of the kind of Serbian speaking teams ban it all the time and whatever. But I think it kind of Overpass is one of those maps where the CT roles kind of sort themselves out, and a bit like Train, where Hunter can be rotating and like Ivy in certain rounds or whatever, and you can still have malbs and MATYS active. I think Overpass is the same, where you can have malbs toilets, MATYS running short every round, Hunter like rotating, being supportive, and then Heavy God anchor. I think those kind of maps where you kind of have one primary anchor, one kind of supportive, and then two active, like, because there's a few like that here. Like even Inferno, you probably count as one of those, right? Nuke maybe, although because ramps can be a bit more active, but. So I think those kind of maps, I kind of want to see them play, even if Hunter's going to be very uncomfortable early on, because I think Train as well, like you can see pros and cons. I'm interested to see what they will end up banning. That's for sure. It might be Overpass just because Hunter's played so little, and then we will get to see MATYS play his favorite spot.
That's the thing, though, is that they've played it very little, and if Hunter is uncomfortable in it on general, considering that he has only 26 officials on it, I don't really see them transitioning to it early. I think if he's trying to adapt to IGLing, it won't be a map they put into the pool early. Maybe something in a couple of months that they transition to. But the thing is, on your point to the roles, I actually do think their roles match up really well for a team on Overpass in terms of the players they have. They actually could make a lot of those CT roles work, especially with the way teams were playing Overpass towards the end with a lot of short aggression and into bathrooms, constant re-aggression. I think that's actually something that they would be able to make work. I just don't know if Hunter will adapt too quickly. I think one thing to point out, though, that I don't know if you actually have it in the slides, is Saw is going to help the team a lot in those kind of elements. I think as a coach overall, he's able to help that kind of transition. He's able to build a good game plan and help integrate players into his kind of system. And I see that actually helping a lot in terms of how this team's going to move forward and add maps to their pool or even help Hunter's transition. I'm not sure if you have any particular thoughts about how Saw is as a coach, STYKO, but in general, like what do you think he's going to do to impact this team as they do go through this transition?
I don't know exactly what the deal with Saw is. I just admire him for how he is good with like especially young players and able to kind of teach them the habits, the correct way to play CS, so to speak. Sometimes boring to see, definitely annoying to play against, but in the end, it just works, and he just proves it again and again. When it comes to map like Overpass, I actually checked before his match history on Overpass, if he played it at least, like so was, because I remember Finnish teams on Overpass, they were kind of okay-ish back in the day. He played it a lot actually in Hava when he was a still player. I couldn't find like stats for him coaching it, but I'm okay with new map being in, honestly, especially like with 2 new players coming in. I think it can be like the map pool change could have not come in a better moment for G2, in my opinion. And I think they should utilize it, and they should take it as a like blank map. We have nothing to lose. Let's play it at least a couple of times, and maybe still flow the train, since we don't have too much like experience on it when it comes to malbs, hunter, and heavy goat. I generally like the idea that they should be playing it. The overpass is, as Harry said, like the role wise, it makes so much sense. And plus, you have a benefit to choose between who you want your A player to be, whether it would be MATYS as a like insane headshot machine, or you want to give it to malbs. And both of the options are good. And then the other one will slot in on short, which is also like very active position where you can make a lot of plays, especially with hunter being in the rotation.
So Harry actually has malbs slotting into that position in toilets in your little prediction sheet.
Yeah, and I was just looking at I was trying to find out if I could see how much Saw played Overpass, but I did stumble across Train 100% win rate after 5 maps. And obviously Saw and Sunpayus always banned Inferno, which is like such a classic G2 map that fell off a bit this year. It's like, that's almost the direction I want to see them go, is because I like teams who are going to be underdogs. Like, obviously this team is going to be a bit of an underdog, banning one of the maps that everyone's comfortable on, just because I feel like it gives you more room. And I don't know what it is like from a player's perspective, but if you're banning like a Ancient or Mirage or something, or even an Inferno in this case for G2, just to keep Saw comfortable, like, does that open up the veto, or do you think it's worth having like players? Because obviously everyone has so much more reps on the Mirages and Ancients. Like, what's the kind of pros and cons for banning a much played map versus a not very much played map?
I think this can be a huge pro to keep banning Inferno. Why? Because only top 20 team right now in the world that is banning Inferno is Team Spirit. And Team Spirit against G2, that matchup is, I would say, for upcoming 3-4 months, maybe even whole season, Spirit will be favorite there. So they will not ban it in the second phase. You know, they will always ban it in the second phase anyway, because they are afraid to leave it as a third potential map. So that can be like a veto advantage. So this would obviously not work if there would be like a team of lesser rank to G2, but right now in top 20, this is the only threat. So banning Inferno, which 2 of your players are not that comfortable with from the previous team, makes a lot of sense again. So it's a different angle. Now that you mention it, it kind of makes sense that it could be a valid play for them to start the season with, at least, and see how it goes. And maybe we reintroduce the map down the line when we realize we can't play Overpass for whatever reason. You know, like Overpass, every time new map comes in, the meta is shifting pretty much from game to the game, and some players are unable to, like react to these meta changes that much. So I think Inferno angle makes sense to ban it.
Mm-hmm. But maybe it's time to. I love talking about the kind of possibilities, but maybe we should talk about just MATYS, like as an actual player. I've got one little pizza chart for you, Note. I just want to kind of establish how well MATYS has been playing this year, basically. So this is against everyone at all events, so he's got no idea what ranking he's playing against, obviously. But this is just MATYS in 2025, and I just want you to see, even if you're just audio listening, open the YouTube back up and just see how many of these bars are like 90 plus. So he is in the top like 5%, 10% for kills, damage, multi-kills, round swing, like even cast. Like he's doing something every round pretty much. He's in the top 20% for cast. So like this is a proper, very good rifler that they're signing. It's not someone who is too much of a gamble in terms of output. It's maybe more of a gamble in terms of tier 1 LAN, big event. We have no idea what he's like on stage, things like that. But, you know, maybe they can afford to buy him a new mouse pad. Who knows? We'll see if that gets
I think
him
he has
5%.
a new one now, actually.
Oh,
actually,
no, really?
I think I think it was unconfirmed or something. They were mentioning that he actually has a new mouse pad now.
Unlucky. I thought he's
That's
going for an achievement to play a whole career on one mouse pad. I think that
Yeah. Maybe that's
As
good.
we know, though, that does mean that it's so over.
Yeah, you can't change the superstitions. But if he's already changed it, he'd still be playing really well. But the thing I also want to emphasize is a lot of his stuff is early round. He's a very aggressive player, at least on Fnatic, and it is this kind of weird balance on Fnatic because BlameF plays all the space taking roles, but then MATYS is the actual aggressive player. Just because Blame likes playing the map control and doing his normal slow thing. So that is a pro, I'd say, if you're G2, because one thing I've always loved watching is kind of like Saul's aggressive lurker. Like, I think even going back, Spinks, when he was more aggressive, then it was NER0 amazing, then it was NER0 amazing. Like, it's just always so good to watch a Saul aggressive lurker. And I think I could see MATYS doing that because he's already kind of comfortable starting in extremity positions, but still calling his own shots quite a lot. And I think this kind of high firepower player, I think it was obvious when it was like, oh, G2 might be looking at ex-Kaspersky or people like that. It's like, okay, Saul really wants this aggressive lurker to kind of complement malbs. And I think MATYS could be that. But what do you think, STYKO? Maybe he wants to be a passive player. Who knows?
No, definitely not. He needs to be aggressive. He wants to be aggressive. Time alive, 35 is kind of crazy stat, but the amount of, like, if you look at it, his time alive is so short, yet his damage is so high, means that he's doing so much in the early rounds. Like, he's doing everything. Like, wherever he has a spawn, he will go there and be used to, the best of his abilities. A lot of UD as well. Like, overall, like, utility damage is for this kind of a player, I think this is a lot, especially if he's playing like his positions are kind of make sense to farm some utility damage. But I think even if he has a bad game, this is what I noticed whenever I looked at Fnatic games, and especially like just the results, and I hovered over the scoreboard, is that he's had so much ADR every single game. No matter if he had a plus 10 KD, he had like over 100 ADR, or he had like minus 5 KD, he still hovered around like 90 to 100 ADR. And to me, this is like a good sign that whatever you do, you're trying, you're consistent. Okay, maybe you're not killing in the end, but you're making job way easier for your cleanup crew, which in Fnatic would be that BlameF, kind of thing. Here, you still have these late round players in Heavy Gold, and even Sunpayus, I think he's a great clutcher. So, as I said, like, if this was scouted, good job. And I wonder why MATYS wasn't the first option. Maybe he was, I'm not sure. But the rumors around Kaspersky were like little odd to me. I think MATYS is a better fit if I look at it overall. Obviously, right now we're talking about MATYS because it's actually a done deal. I don't have the statistics of Kaspersky in front of me. Maybe Harry will pull it out, but I'm not sure. And but this makes just so much sense that I like this signing more over what they would have from ENCE when they would get Kaspersky.
I think I agree, and it's because he already starts in those lurker spots. Like, he's used to kind of having to make plays from places that other people might not. And it's also, I think, exactly what you're saying. He's traded deaths, 89. He's in the top 10% of riflers for how often his deaths get traded. So this is someone who is already a pack rifler, even if he's starting B on some maps, right? So I just think this is the kind of the fit. And next slide note is kind of what it's going to look like. Ooh, maybe one before. He's going to get there. The scat plot. There we go. So this is kind of why I think it's so important that they have someone like MATYS who is kind of wanting to be first contact a lot of the time and be happy getting an assist or a traded death here and there. Because I think him and malbs together can kind of alleviate some of the pressure that's been on malbs at the start of this year, because Hunter and Heavy God are just, they're trade fraggers, really. They want to be trading. They want to be clutching. Snax was someone who wanted to throw flashbangs and then kind of be shifting somewhere. Like, he was not Hooksy jumping around corners, is what I'm trying to say. And even NiKo was like a lone wolf type player, right? He wants to do his openings. He wants to be on his own, kind of making plays. Whereas now it's going to be a very different style of team where MATYS and malbs are both very aggressive and they both want to be playmakers and everything like that, the kind of luxurious part of being an aggressive rifler. But they're also both very happy kind of getting stuck in being a bomb site entry. And I just think it gives you so many options to have two players like that. Like, it doesn't matter if malbs dies in mid. You've still got MATYS. entering somewhere. Like it's kind of the twin threat that a lot of teams maybe don't have because they use their IGL so much. I think G2 are going to have really like sharp executes in theory just because they have two players like that.
And they will naturally go a little bit up in trading profile as well. If you have two guys in this kind of a realm where MATYS and malbs is, it's natural. Like they won't be both entering and then not trading at the same time. You know, like they will naturally complement each other. Okay, one time it might be MATYS going first in, but malbs will therefore up his trading profile and vice versa. So having two players in here where you see them right now, I can guarantee you they won't be there in like after 10 to 20 games of G2, but where they will be is probably somewhere around like mixed upwards, you know, upper right corner, where it's like probably the best way where you want them to be. You don't want to have a lone wolves on the team like that. You want to like play packed positions, but then you're entering and trading if it's up there, up on the right in the scatter plot. That's where you want to have two players, and then you're going to be insanely good. But what I suspect what will happen is that malbs will go down a little bit in entering, and MATYS will stay where he is. If I have to pick a player who will be a little bit less aggressive, if like map doesn't allow for two players to be aggressive at the same time, I think MATYS should be the one staying where he is, and malbs like kind of tone it down a little bit, and naturally he will go up in trading, so it will be like a movement all around the scatter plot. But that's what I would like to see, and we'll see what Saw and the guys can cook.
You've already also seen that happen a little bit when NiKo was in the team, that malbs is able to transition to a little bit of different roles, being a little bit more of the second in and helping out in trade fragging. So I don't think that'll be a particular issue. Overall, STYKO, I want to get your thoughts on the change as a whole in terms of bringing in Sunpayus, MATYS, and Saw. What is your actual overall thought for the whole move?
Okay, so I might be a little bit... Actually, I'm not going to be biased, but I think all three roles that are coming into G2 are upgrades to what they had before. So I think Saw is an upgrade over TAS. Okay, let's skip for a coach to be the last part, because I kind of want to draw a narrative here. So obviously Sunpayus coming in over, let's say, over HATES, I think is a definitely upgrade right now. And I think HATES was doing well for the stand-in period of time, but still, I think it's just going to be incredibly difficult to fill his shoes after m0NESY. But if Sunpayus is able to enable like a little bit of a supportive role, and you know, like, you don't need to hard carry this team as much as m0NESY was doing, in my opinion. Then Hunter is IGL upgrade over Snax, in my opinion. And then MATYS is upgrade over Hunter in those roles, in those specific roles that Hunter had before. So I generally like all three moves. And then why I love Saw over TAS is that because, as I said before, the way he works with players is just so much more visible, and the output is more tangible compared to what TAS is doing. We to this day, like, there are memes about TAS and voice comms being leaked and he's being like a cheerleader. I don't think that's like the full picture, obviously. It can't be. Like, if that would be a full picture, like, he would be fired from G2 after first month. So definitely there was something going on that we cannot see. But what Saw is doing is that he has like an incredible resume of teams in the past that he built from, I don't want to say nothing, but budget-wise it was nothing. And then he enabled every single player. He elevated that every single player to at least like 0.1 higher standard when it comes to rating. You know, like, it felt like more natural. He always puts the best out of the player. He knows where he's comfortable. He knows where the discomfort is. That discomfort is challenged during practice. That comfort is enabled during the actual tournament time where they need to perform.
It's also the scouting you get. Like, if you keep Saw for 5 years, like, I have so much faith in him being able to kind of upgrade pieces, replace pieces, because, you know, Falcons are going to come and swipe this core if it's any good in like 12 months, because that's just what they do. They just see, instead of hiring Saw, they just hire Saw's players, and then it doesn't work. But yeah, I think it's that thing of how much faith you have in a coach. And in terms of coaches in the world, like, if I had £1 million and I want to start an esports team, I think Saw would be absolute top of the list in terms of spending it wisely, improving what you've already got as well. Like, you can't kind of praise Saw enough, I think. I think every time he's been to a team, like even Heroic this year, when that's such a rebuild, that team like kind of is Sangal's core, and he's still like when he leaves, they're 12th in the world. Like that just kind of says it all to me, even more than the kind of Ents and previous Heroic rosters. Like that is kind of the impact of having a guy like that.
I'm not saying that So is like a perfect coach. Obviously, there has to be some weakness, but he's not giving us a lot of chances to see those weaknesses. And whether it would be that because this staff around the team is so good to complement those weaknesses, let's say maybe he sucks at analytical part, and that's where he has analytics for prep, right? Maybe that's what he thinks. Or maybe during the actual practice, he's not the one dictating the focus points of what we should be talking about, but there's a staff behind. And if I have to say it into words, I think he's a great coach because he's not giving us a lot of reasons to like point a finger like you suck at this, where other coaches are exposing themselves sometimes, in intense situations, in the majors, in elimination games, even in voice comms videos sometimes, or the body language behind the team. The classic meme of Blade being turned like in the back and away from Navi. That meme always cracks me up. But it's just little things like this. You never saw Saw doing like that. You never seen Saw do something like that before.
I think also just from being at events and standing behind the team and seeing how he takes charge, something like that's also very important. Maybe not in a team with like Hunter as such an experienced player, but I think overall having a coach that's able to see when something's going wrong and take charge, not just in terms of the emotion, but he actually will like dictate around if he thinks that he knows the exact scenario to adjust to. And I think the presence that he has even behind the server, even on the server and behind the server will help this team evolve a lot. And I think the coach, the point you made about scouting as well is really important because I think that's something that G2 have been lacking. And as we've seen them spend less and less money for a lot of these buyouts since MATYS, being able to actually look down into tier 2 and be able to pick out the right talents while they're still up and coming is going to be important as this roster looks to develop over time as well.
How cheap do you think this kind of, like, do you think they spent the MATYS money? Because MATYS must have been contracted. Saw and Sunpayus together. Heroic are not like in a position where they needed to settle after all the sound and everything. Like, how much money do you think is even left? Because I feel like those three together, honestly, probably pretty expensive in the end.
I'm not sure how expensive they would have been, but in terms of the money they spent for the last little while, I would say you've seen them shy away from making moves for a little bit. Like, yes, they bought malbs out, obviously, as well. But in terms of the big signings like they used to do with MATYS, and like when they brought on NiKo in the first place, like these were big name signings. They're not players that, it's not a MATYS, for example, right? Like, MATYS is great. He's an upcoming player. But those are not the signings that G2 used to make. They were big ticket signings that G2 is known for. So yes, you are seeing them buy out like Sunpayus, but it's not the same caliber in terms of the money they used to spend and the names they used to sign. So I think it is a bit of a different conversation in that. But yeah, I think they definitely spent money on these signings, no doubt. I'm sure that Saw didn't come cheap because Heroic they like their buyouts.
Oh, they're going to want a refund. They just want him back, I think. Judging how Fisher Playground went, it's just kind of immediately gone terribly. But yeah, this is why I had the Ewing theory poster at the start of the show. It's just, I think that's what the GCCO is more aligned with. I think he doesn't really want these superstars who kind of, there was that one bit in the interview where he kind of implied that player power was something that he didn't really like and something that had kind of taken control of G2CS in a way he didn't really like long term. So I think it's kind of a clear stamp that they've gone, NiKo, MATYS out, and then what are they going to spend the money on? It's not simple. It's Saw, basically. Saw and an AWP he likes and a player he probably likes in MATYS. And they're basically saying, okay, we're going to give you the keys, but this is not going to be like a player-run operation. This is going to be sensible scouting, sensible coaching, and someone who is like a very, very well-liked, well-respected in the scene, having that control over the players, and that there's that kind of hierarchy is kind of re-established in a way. And I think that can, once you've lost players like NiKo and MATYS, I think that is the correct way to kind of respond. I think I like that move a lot, basically.
I think
I just hope my boy MATYS is not going through another mismanaged team, because I feel like in Fnatic it's been mismanaged a lot in past, let's say 2-3 seasons. I've had that from a couple of sources as well, and like even the supposed replacement for MATYS, I feel like Fnatic is just not wanting or willing to spend money, or I don't know what the plan with the CS division is, but I just know that it's been a mess for players, sometimes really, really tough to deal with, because Org is just coming in and making decisions without consulting that much. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know how it works in Tier 1, but Harry, you said that you just like it, where, Org is kind of like dictating the pace where the team is kind of growing. But I just hope the management part will be better than what he had in Fnatic. I truly think that sometimes it can burn out the players so much if he has to deal with a lot of internal stress, not even from competition, but from the daily to-do tasks within the org.
Mm-hmm. I think it's about who you give the keys to, right? Like I don't want it to be some random suit who's just like arrived with a marketing degree. Like I think Saw, I'm fine with that. That's when I kind of want like when you've got a coach like Blade, Saw, even Zonic. I mean, I still think I'd give him the keys until I sack him. I still give him the keys until then. But it's like when you have a coach like that, that's when you kind of have to entrust them. That's all I mean. Like I don't want it to be mouths going, here's my mate from Argentina I used to play pugs with or something. Like no, like Saw's picking the players now. That's what I kind of like about it.
I did want to talk about Sunpayus a bit, because I think we have talked a lot about MATYS and not too much about Sunpayus in addition. However, I know that we never really touched on the T-Rolls side of MATYS. I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about it at all, Harry, before we skip over to Sunpayus here.
I guess it's more of the same kind of what we've been talking about, which is basically how much does it matter between him and malbs who gets what, because malbs played a lot of these roles at the end of 2024, the kind of half lurk roles where he's still being aggressive, and then obviously MATYS at the moment the way I've got it is that MATYS doesn't change any of his roles from Fnatic really, and then malbs is in what BlameF was doing basically primarily, so it's obviously a very different duo to what MATYS will have been used to. But yeah, I think the Fnatic thing is an interesting one as well, where it's like I got so excited when they signed Jambo. I was like, Jambo, MATYS, BlameF. That just, why isn't that working basically? So yeah, let's see if this is more stable for MATYS. But I think on T side it will be kind of that stability, that kind of continuation. But I don't know if he was picking his roles, STYKO. Do you think he would want malbs' roles? Do you think that's where he'd choose long term? Like if he is the better player, and then over the next 12 months, could we see a swap or anything?
It's a good question for T-side. I'm not sure. I don't think MATYS would be like, I'm coming in and I want these roles. I think he's more adaptable. But what I feel like is that in general, Hunter would be taking a lot of Snax roles, and then MATYS would be taking a lot of Hunter's roles, right? And that's where I would leave it for the start of the season, and then mix and match if we need some fixes throughout. Because as I said, MATYS and malbs are extremely how do you say it in English, where they can like switch between interchangeable, right? Interchangeable. They could, I could see easily MATYS being a mid player on Ancient, being the one aggressing, while malbs would be taking like a B extremity or something like that. I could definitely see that, even though malbs is really, really good at middle. So it all comes down to even slight things like meta changes. Like some player is sometimes not adaptable enough to fix his position, which gives like opportunity for teams to, swap for like 2-3 events, and it wouldn't like destroy the structure of the whole team.
I guess the other point is kind of what do you think of malbs this year? Because it's kind of been the very good start, kind of low confidence, kind of struggling a bit with the kind of the weight of being NiKo's there so obviously. Like, what's your kind of thoughts on what malbs will be able to do this season, when like surely MATYS arriving takes the pressure off a little bit? Will that help him?
Yeah, I think it should be helping him. And malbs to me is like a huge X factor on this team. Like if malbs is gonna he's gonna perform well in this team, I think G2 will end the year in like maybe even on the brink of like top 5. But at the same time, if malbs is not going to perform and he's going to have like a poor, as you said, low confidence. I remember his interviews where he just, after the game, he went on Twitter and said, I have no confidence. I'm so shit at the game. You know, like it happens.
see that.
It's so frustrating. You hate to see it. It's so frustrating. But if you have to air it out like this, you are like in a deep trouble. And then the next game, he was really, really good. So what I'm trying to say is that if this is the malbs we're going to see in the second part of the season, on the other hand, I struggle to see G2 enter top 10 at the end of the year. Like they're not going to be top 10 team at the end of the year. So to me, malbs is the biggest X factor here. And there could be other internal problems that we don't see right now, and maybe they don't see as well. I was thinking about like it might be too many voices in the team right now with MATYS coming in, and then Sunpayus, I'm not sure how he is, but I think he's pretty vocal about the team as well. So maybe that could be like interfering with all of the performances. Maybe it will be good that everyone is talking. Besides probably Heavy God, I think he's going to be the most quiet one. But you know that kind of fits the role. He's the lurking part of the team, anchoring part of the team. So.
And even Heavy God, he played map control on the Cloud9, didn't he? So it's this kind of, this is another guy who, I mean, when you spoke to him, it was very much like, oh, the team asked me to, I was like happy to do it. Like, I don't think it's his natural thing, but he's super flexible as well. I think it's kind of almost a bit like the kind of Na'Vi trio of where you've kind of got like maybe your best asset's actually kind of your lurker anchor, but in terms of like the actual balance, I think 3 really, really strong riflers. And we'll get onto Sunpayus. I don't know where Note's gone.
In a way, I would say that the more voices in the team could actually help malbs, because that's something that he started struggling with when NiKo left, was taking over that CT voice that NiKo had and trying to call alongside, I guess, Hunter, even since Hunter was calling a lot of the CT things. I think having more voices, even having MATYS able to take some of that pressure off, is actually going to make a big difference, because when you don't have that responsibility, or you don't solely have that responsibility, and you have some other players who are able to do that, Phil, I think it's going to help him a lot in terms of just taking that pressure off, which something malbs has said before, like when he was on M80, the team environment and having like a good mood and having a proper fit for him is really important. It really changes how he plays in the game. It changes how he feels on the server and how he fits. So I think having a little bit of that pressure taken off and having other people talk a little bit more is going to help him transition during this period as well. I think we might see a bit of a resurgence from him as we go. But talking about Sunpayus, you have done the classic thing where you've compared him to MATYS. A very nice little chart here, Harry. So let's talk about this comparison.
You might think this is comparing it to MATYS, but we're actually comparing to every AWPer, okay? Because you've got to think about is the edge of the chart is the best AWPer, which is Zyru for basically all of these. And the middle bit of the chart is the average, like the worst AWPer, not the average one. So you can see Sunpayus is basically above average in most things. He does lean a bit left, which is kind of the more passive stats, it's the survival stats, the round swing stats. And I think there's another slide, next one, which I think we can leave this one for a second, but it's the kind of caliber of AWPer we're talking about. And I think the one thing I found interesting when I looked into Sunpayus on Edge is that he's basically pretty aggressive with the AWP. Like he's this kind of device style AWPer. Like he'll go for his openings, he'll go for his kind of set picks. But when he's on a rifle, he becomes much more passive. Like he's got the same opening attempts when he's on a rifle as Shiro. Like that's the kind of drop. Whereas MATYS, I mean, 16% is nothing crazy, but he's a bit more aggressive. He's still kind of an extra 15 ADR when he has an AK or M4. Like it's not Zyru who's 96 ADR on a rifle, 21% opening attempts. Like it's not that level, but there is that kind of difference and that kind of playmaking gap, I think, for when Sunpayus doesn't have the AWP, especially on CT side. And that's, again, why we don't want to go back to MATYS again, but it's kind of the MATYS and malbs thing. It's why I like it, is because Sunpayus is a little bit more passive until the economy is rolling to the point where he doesn't mind going for something more risky where he might die.
So in reality, last update is actually a little bit buff to Sunpayus, right? Because now we are getting, on CT side, we're getting this $50 extra per every kill, which it doesn't sound much, but you know, if you make 4 kills and you still lose the round, it's extra 1,000 for the whole team. That's an extra flash per player. And all these things are helping a little bit to, relieve stress of these opers to actually purchase an op a little bit more often. So that's another thing. But this is great chart. I haven't even noticed that rifle openings are so different to opers. It's almost for everyone like 10% difference.
And then Zayu.
And then Zayu, and that exactly is an anomaly.
What's going on with 910?
You shouldn't even put them in these charts, if I'm being honest. Just...
If I don't put Zayu in, everyone will say I'm a MATYS fanboy.
That's true. That's true.
I've got to keep Zayu in, just to make sure that everyone is like, yeah, he's still way better. But yeah, that's the thing. I think if we go, can I go back to the radar quickly, because I wanted to talk about Sunpayus on the rifle a bit, but this is someone who survives the same as MATYS, so you're not losing kind of stupid deaths. You're not signing a really aggressive AWP who's going to cost you rounds. It's more that Sunpayus is kind of a foundation AWP or a base AWP, like a kind of, he'll get you picks, but he won't be stupid in a way. And I think this kind of fits with the whole G2 structure of, we're going to balance the fragging out, probably between all four of them. Even Hunter, maybe more of a fragger than a Snax, in theory, we expect. So it's a kind of, the question really is whether he can get back to 2023 levels, or even whether he needs to for this team to succeed. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I don't think he needs to get back to that level, but I think Sunpayus, as you said, he does play pretty smart in the late round, and I think having the clutch factor helps a lot in a team like this where you have malbs and not as the entry duo. You have Hunter a little bit towards the late round, you have Heavy God a little bit towards the late round, but having Sunpayus actually survive and make those plays into the late round is pretty important. I think towards the last little bit of his time on Heroic, I think you saw him struggle a little bit in some of those clutches, which is a bit surprising to me. But I don't think that he's going to really have trouble getting back to that level as this team kind of works through their initial, I don't want to say honeymoon phase, but I guess their initial couple of months together. I don't know. Do you think this team would have a honeymoon phase, STYKO?
I think they would, honestly. But at the same time, there's so many teams making changes that it's hard to determine if some team is in honeymoon period. Because if they would be making changes as a solo team, maybe they would have this honeymoon period. But maybe some other honeymoon period will be stronger over that one, and so we don't acknowledge that first one, right, in the first place. So I think it can happen. It usually happens in these international teams, especially when you had the later portion of the previous season where you had a dead team vibe coming in, right? Snax was supposed to go out. They played already with HLTV. They knew that they're not going to continue with them. So they were already kind of gathering this, I would say, energy for the next season, and now it's really time to unleash it. So I think it can happen. And back to the Harris question, if we need Sunpayus peak performance, it very much depends where G2 want to see themselves. Do we want to see them as a contender to win the major in Budapest? It's questionable, right? It's probably not going to happen. And for that, if they want to be a top 5 team, I think Sunpayus can be this average oper that we're seeing right now on the screen in front of us, and we would still manage to do it. I think, as I said before, it's different players that need to step up, in my opinion, to be the difference makers. That would be probably malbs and MATYS in that kind of sense, and maybe Hunter if he's really, really fragging IGL to the point where it's Apex in grand finals. He had 1.3 rating or something like that. But if we need G2 to be top 1 in the world, obviously Sunpayus cannot go back to 2023. He needs to be twice as better as he was during his peak performance, which I don't know if it's inside of him, but might be. And it very much depends on the strategy of G2. What is the plan? What is the skill ceiling there?
I think the kind of, in 6 months, I want them to be close to MATYS in my head, because I think it's kind of the similar structure sort of thing with a kind of equal fragging responsibilities and everything like that. I think they're going to be the really good test of if G2 are better than MATYS by the end of the year. I think they've done amazingly, right?
100%.
But that would be an incredible achievement for Saul to do so quickly. But I think that's where you've got to be aiming. And then these super high five, Spirit, Falcons, Vitality, are they going to be better over a long enough period against those teams with the incredible firepower? Maybe not, maybe yes. But someone like MATYS is a realistic target for them in terms of if everything clicks instantly and we have this kind of natural synergy. Obviously, hard to compete with NXT synergy, but you know what I mean? Then I think that is kind of where I want G2 to be, like in the top 5 against those types of teams. And I think so much of it will come down to whether they have a honeymoon. And I'm a bit skeptical just because I have no idea what map they're going to ban. I think Overpass and Train together is a bit of a problem for them because I think someone is going to be uncomfortable regardless, basically. Like Hunter's playing one of his 2 permabans of the last few years, right?
Yeah.
And then also just the MATYS role change on CT, if that is what happens, or Sunpayus coming in and being a different profile to MATYS and that affecting how malbs wants to call around himself and everything like that. I just think there's, like, I want to be super positive because I like all the players and people involved, but I'm just a bit worried that there will be more, it'll be more like a slow build than a honeymoon, just because there's so much change for everyone, at first at least.
It might be. I'm not sure. I'm trying to look at their matchup for IM Cologne. It isn't out, obviously.
They're top 8, right? So they don't get an easy game. They're not going to win 13-2 against like the 24th seed to ease in. Like they're straight in, top 16.
And then winning that game would probably mean they are facing Vitality right from the get-go in the upper semifinal. Like I'm trying to find an angle where I would see them in like getting a top 4 at IM Cologne. I'm trying to look for that angle.
Mm-hmm. So their group is...
It's Vitality, Falcons, Mongols, and G2, and then 4 teams will come in from the first stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it's doable because everyone is making changes and everything is possible. Like I could even see freaking Aurora winning this tournament despite Anubis being out. Like I honestly, like this first tournament of the season, I have no clue what will happen. And it might as well just be Vitality steamrolling everyone, like to set the tone for the remainder of the year, what was happening in the first part of the year. G2 making top 4, I think is realistically doable. But whenever I make these kind of predictions, they usually bomb out last place. So I might be jinxing it right now.
Yeah, it's just you kind of push it and be like, I look at this group and all I see is the 2 major finalists and then Falcons, and it's like, ooh, this is a tough group. But you know, like I would love it personally if it was the lower bracket run past Mongols and Falcons. Like I think that would just be really funny more than anything. If G2 did get that flying start, but I am a bit more. I think 3 months. I want to see where they are in 3 months. I want to see that kind of trajectory because I just think there's just too much. There's just too much going on for me early on. If they turn up and ban Mirage, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like we said, Inferno Overpass or Train, like they could be literally anything. But you know, like you're saying with these international teams, they've all kind of had the mini holiday in their head while they were doing the dead team stuff. Like maybe they can just hit the ground running. Like maybe that is the way it works. You know better than me, but
I think the way you both framed it in terms of where they actually want to be is really important because it is a question as to whether they want to be major champions. What is the goal of this actual roster? And I think, STYKO, you brought up a really good point as to if that is their end goal, then yes, Sunpayus needs to be at his best. But then, as Harry was saying, you know, the level of MATYS is probably a good target, and I think Cologne will be a good chance for them to start showing roughly where they're going to start at as they take aim at that kind of goal. Overall, though, I think, STYKO, you said you've watched the show before. Would you say you're ready for your probably favorite segment of crawling through some HLTV forum threads?
I am ready, but I'm a certified sports user, so I don't see them that much. So this will be, you are exposing me to something I'm actively trying to avoid. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but let's do it.
You've got like the least hated pro, and he's still on sport mode. It's just sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Okay, I have a couple. A couple of them are short, so we can be brief on some. This one just says G2 era, and it says, look how bad Heroic is without Saw. NER0 looks like a tier 2 player without him. You're not ready for the G2 era. This one's by Vahi with a
I almost feel bad for Snappy. Like, he's so forgotten he doesn't even get slandered anymore. Like, it's just... Forgotten to slander.
Feels
Well,
bad for
that's-
nerds, actually. Feels more like a nerd's blame than praising So there.
Yeah, I don't know why nerds caught us stray there.
Yeah, right? It's kind of like, all I'm thinking about after that is nerd. And honestly, like, he's been struggling, yes, but it's kind of hard to maybe shine in Liquid right now, if I'm being honest.
New roles as
we
well,
have
man.
we have a probably one of the most delusional thread titles I've seen, which says "Jam Young to G2," and this says "Please make it happen" by GenG_fan with the French flag.
Are they hiding interview skills again? Is this Mongols all over again? Does Dam Young speak fluent English? He's
Apparently, they didn't
unbelievable.
even say who
Did
he
you
would
see how he played
replace.
yesterday? I mean, it won't be
Yeah.
yesterday when this goes out, but meu Deus,
Yeah.
it's a real player.
Kind of crazy how these teams are playing so well after the break. I don't think Chinese teams even took a break. It feels like they didn't.
Maybe Rare
No, it really doesn't. I think we have a very appropriately titled thread that says "G2 fan singular come here."
We'll have to use that. Stealing that.
What do you think about this map pool? Saw permanently banned Inferno on both Ents and Heroic, and Inferno is one of the strong maps for G2 core. G2 core, malbs, Hunter, and Heavy God have never played Train and Overpass together. They played it individuals in previous teams. I think we covered a good bit of the map pool topic, but I did just want to read the thread title more than anything because I thought it was appropriate for how we started the show.
Yeah. It'll be in our YouTube title as well. So thanks for
that. We have G2 actually promising. They look like a strong team, to be honest. Of course, haven't played a match yet. Kind of like Ents with Saw, but more high payoff if it work. And if it doesn't, it'll be an absolute disaster. Heavy God is great. Sun PayPal is decent, usually. MATYS is high potential. Malbs is great. The only Gabble is Hunter as IGL. Aside from that, they're actually a good team.
A gamble. I was just thinking.
Yeah. That makes more sense.
It's Forbes speak.
What do you think? G2 actually promising, STYKO?
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the most interesting roster moves out of all Roster Mania season right now, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not Kyosuke to Falcons level, but at least, first of all, like, what are we even saying? Like, they haven't even announced it yet. Like, maybe they will throw a curveball and this goes out and there's a completely different roster coming in. They just use MATYS for Cologne,
they'll
right?
have to play with Saw at Cologne, yeah. MATYS is Cologne standard and they're signing NiKo back.
Yeah, this is, by the way, coming back to what we were talking during the episode, I hope this is going to be well managed. Like, already from the announcement point of view, I'm not liking this. Like, I think this is not going too well so far. So please step it up. And by the time this podcast is out, I hope the announcement is made. Unless, yeah, actually it should be. So
I just really liked Sun PayPal as a name.
that's a good bit, yeah.
I don't know why. Well, because he was
Neither
on
do
Falcons
I.
bench. Because he sold out to Falcons, maybe. So it's all I can see.
You know, that might be it, honestly. So we have G2 prediction next 6+ months. Another topical one, as that's how we were ending the show. Saul will actually cook and make this G2 be a top 4 team that will be better than MATYS and only lose to Vitality Spirit Falcons within 3 months. Hunter will turn out to be a great IGL with Saw's help. Malbs, Heavy God, and MATYS will shine and all look like top 20 players form-wise. Sunpayus will fall behind a bit and hold them back from beating the top 3. Simultaneously, Brokey will be very good again on FaZe, resulting in Simple not joining FaZe after his contract with Navi ends. So Simple will replace Sunpayus on G2 and fall. G2 with Simple will make semifinals at Budapest Major and win 2026 Katowice/Krakow.
I was agreeing with it for so long.
Yeah. This is why I use sports mode, guys. This is exactly the thread that makes me use it.
Oh, honestly.
But going back to the
me
prediction, I think top 10. I think 10th in the world, ±2 positions. So this is where I see them. Range top 8 to top 12.
I think they'll be, okay, here's my hot take. They'll be better than the Mongols and Aurora next season.
Ooh.
I actually agree with that. I think that is... I think the Mongols have played so well, but they actually, I don't know if they have the consistency. That's the thing. Like, yes, they've have the consistency in terms of tournaments, but I don't know if they have the consistency as all these teams will upgrade to actually stay in the spot that they are. I think you're right that they actually might fall off between the kind of levels that G2 will be able to start stepping up to. I don't think it's...
You have to think about it that way, that you cannot compare Mongols' finals of the major appearance to the rest of the season. Oh, then obviously they will drop off in consistency, right? I think they overperformed in the past 3 months. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
But the consistency that we've seen in the previous, like at the beginning of the season, that's where they will kind of hover for the rest of the year. That's my at least point of view. I love that they haven't made roster changes. Not that there was any potential pickup from Mongolia. I'm not even aware of it. If there was, then I guess my bad for not knowing it. But I think Aurora point of view for Harry makes sense. Mongols, I don't think they will be. I don't think they will fall so down in the ranking.
It's not that I'm comparing it to the major result. It's more just, I think overall, I just don't think that they will maintain their consistent
playoff run, I guess.
Playoff runs, yeah.
Okay.
More than anything. It's probably a bit of a hot take maybe, but I think they're just going to be slightly below how they played last season. For that consistency. Also on the Aurora point, I mean, Anubis is out. I think that's going to be a big factor as well this season. Aurora, that core used to always be quite good on Overpass though, so I don't know if it's as big of a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be. Obviously, Anubis was their specialist map for the last little while, but I think Overpass isn't going to be a bad map for them. It was always one that Zentaris was really good on. Major would call pretty well on it as well, from what I remember back in the day. So I don't know if it's going to be a... That's a good question
we need for the next month. So,
okay. So the next thread we have says G2 plus Cadian plus exist. Guys, inside sources have told me that G2 are interested in Cadian as an IGL and may add exist to coach, seeing if they can implement a system for their young talent. Personally, I'd be extremely excited to see this move. And the first comment says, "You and your insider sources need meds."
What year is this from?
This is from 6
I'm gonna say
days
like
ago,
2 days
Harry.
ago. 6 days ago. Okay.
I have nothing to add to this first comment. That's my exact reaction.
I will say that the thread creator has a team flare that says "fan of disabled" with the wheelchair logo.
It's another sport mode time, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. I think that's honestly it. There's no the threads were not my favorite this time. No fan fictions, as Hooch likes to say. But
It's
we
because
had
the
a
fans
couple
have
of-
gone.
That's true. That's actually a great point, Harry. As we said, the fans have gone. STYKO, do you have any verdict on your non-sports mode moment?
No, I'm keeping it like it is. I think I just think it gives me so much like mental clarity, and I go to HLTV to actually learn, the news of Counter-Strike instead of brain rot. And that right part, like this is how I filtered before sports mode came in. Obviously, I use HLTV for a long time. Whatever website I'm on, I filter top right. Now, like I it's a blind spot for me. Like it's a blur on the monitor, and I never look there. And all I focus is in the center, and that's it. And when the sports mode came, I thanked God, and I actually bought a HLTV merch. So, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm not turning it off, brother. It's not happening. And I love the clue, like the part about G2 fans, like legit 2 fans. Like they have 2 fans, and that's it.
And I'll be one of them.
Yeah,
You can sell Modesty, you can't sell my heart.
I love the idea that HLTV forums have made you permanently filter the right side of every website you ever visit.
Yeah, it's just a habit at this point. Like I just do it. I don't know why. I'm scrolling HLTV right now. I turn sports mode off right now, like during past 10 minutes, just to see, what I'm missing out on. And yeah, I'm like Sontics fangirls, like was it like, all these things are just appearing there, and I'm afraid to click. That's the part. Like this is what HLTV made to me. It made me afraid to click. Maybe that's why I suck in CS so hard. Like I'm afraid to click mouse one, and I'm just not performing. Because HLTV did this all.
The forums did
all
it too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, STYKO, just want to say thanks for coming on. I think this is a lot of fun. Is there anything you wanted to leave us with? Anything you wanted to plug before we end off?
Absolutely not. I think you're doing a great job, and thanks for everyone who's been listening us yap all the way until now. I hope you had remotely a little bit of fun at least. You learned something new, and let's see each other in some future podcasts or talk shows, whatever it might be. Always good to talking to you.
Awesome.